All right, welcome back. This is the Baseball Show. You tuned in to Nickel Press TV. I'm Anthony Singleton. That's Ralph Lifshitz. Quick disclaimer, real quick. First of all, we want to thank everybody who's been watching. Really appreciate your support and continued support. Do that if you're not already by subscribing to the channel, leaving your comments, engaging in the videos. It really helps us get placed in YouTube better. So thank you for everybody that has been engaging and subscribing. We've certainly noticed a difference, and it is greatly appreciated. The disclaimer I wanted to make was you might see the headphones back this week. I'm working on a proper audio solution, but in the meantime, it's better just to give you quality audio that you can hear and say screw it if you see the wire or not. So there you go. We'll see what we can do as we go forward with this, but that's it. So this week we will be concentrating on another 3 pitchers, and this episode is going to be a little harder because we actually have to roll up our sleeves and talk closers. They're kind of like the necessary evil in fantasy baseball. They can go quietly unnoticed or severely throw a wrench in your team's success. They are kind of like kickers in fantasy football to some regard, in that you need them and they're going to win you games, but their individual success is somewhat reliant on team success. And explain a little bit about that more as we get into some of the guys we're going to talk about today. Real quick, don't really have any affiliation with them other than I bought a t-shirt and I'm a subscriber of theirs, but closermonkey.com is a great resource for scouting relief pitchers, and just wanted to throw that out there for anybody that's unaware of closermonkey.com. Make sure you check them out, bookmark that site. And that's it. We're going to try to hit you with some less obvious names, you know, the ones you're probably scratching your head about. And we'll jump right into it. The first guy, of course, everybody knows, at least in the great Northwest. I'm talking about Edwin Diaz. He basically just burst onto the scene. The thing that was so surprising about Edwin Diaz for me, and I'm sure Ralph has a ton of notes and a ton of things to say about him and talk to him about, in regards to Edwin Diaz, and that is because I, like many others, have been tracking this guy as a starter, which he has been really, 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 really good as a developing starting pitcher. So good, in fact, that they wanted to find a way to get him to Seattle, threw him in the bullpen, and he was just lighting it up. I mean, ridiculous, like 15 K per 9 rate. Eventually became the closer, saved 18 of 21 games. Before he got that role, he had 13 holds. ERA was ridiculous, like a 2. Wasn't walking anybody. I mean, it was just sick across the board. Let me see what else. He throws 2 fastballs and a slider. Those are pretty much his 3 pitches. He's a hard thrower. Still young. He's what, Ralph? He's only like 22. And you know, for me, the biggest problem is I don't think it's going to be this year, because I think that he's embracing the closer role, and I think they want him to be the closer. But the biggest hurdle for him going forward is going to be, do they somehow find a way to transition him back into the rotation, or is this a permanent gig for him? Kind of like what happened, you know, I hate to say it again, but Mariano Rivera, who kind of set the mold and the example and the prototype for this kind of a transition. Wanted to read you a couple quick numbers real quick. So Seattle finished 2016 number 2 in save opportunities with 74, but they blew 25 of them. So they are desperately looking for a closer, and that is why they are trying to make Diaz that everyday guy, that everyday stopper. What can you tell me about Diaz? Real quick, let me throw this other thing in real quick. Only 5 relievers finished with an 18% or higher swinging strike rate, and Diaz was 4th behind Aroldis Chapman, Giles, and Gregerson. So really, you could say he was arguably the number 2 closer. I'm going to stop talking for a minute, let Ralph go. I have a couple other things I want to touch on with Diaz, but what's your initial take with this guy? Are you thinking this is repeatable?
Yeah, absolutely. I view Diaz as, probably one of the top 4 options in terms of closers this year. And I'm hoping, I haven't been in a ton of early drafts. I'm going to be getting into that in the next couple of weeks. But I'm hoping that his ADP isn't totally inflated. He's not going, with what we like to call over on Razzball, the $12 salads with, Aroldis Chapman, Jensen, some of those guys. Because the stuff is there. This could be the year that you can buy low on him before he totally explodes. I think he is destined for this role. It was so natural And I think, him starting in the major leagues over the course of 6 innings, having to turn over the lineup 2 or 3 times, just quite honestly, I think his control still isn't great. It's good enough in these small sample sizes because he can come out there. He's not getting tired. He can really jam in the fastball. It does touch 97, 98 miles per hour. But the best pitch that he has is his slider. His slider is his plus pitch. Gets a ton of swings and misses on that, and that's one of the reasons that you just brought up for the 18.5% swinging strike rate, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, I think he's going to follow in that mold of, I remember Jonathan Papelbon was another one of those guys like Rivera, where they actually tried to convert him in spring training after his breakout season, and they just decided to scrap it, and they kept him as the closer. And obviously, he had a lot of good years in Boston and Philly.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you were touching on the swinging strike rate again. And, just to kind of give you some perspective on that, Max Scherzer led all starters with a 15.3% swinging strike rate, and he was the only one with 15 or greater among all starting pitchers. So just to show you how good of a number that is that Diaz is putting up in his first taste of the bigs, is kind of, what I was impressed by the most. As I mentioned, we've been tracking this guy as a starter, and Seattle really, it depends on what you think of them. I mentioned they were number 2 in save ops last year. Let's just see real quick here. The last 3 years they finished number 2, number 6, and then number 2 again. My big thing with Diaz, and I hate to say this, we're going to talk about Gary Sanchez in a future episode, and I feel like people think when I say I have him as my number 1 catcher that I'm overreacting, or maybe it's because I'm a Yankee fan or whatever the case is. When it comes to Edwin Diaz, I truly believe he could be the best reliever in baseball this season. And he's currently being drafted as the 8th reliever, around the 87th pick overall. So, if there's one reliever I'm reaching for, it's him, just because I want to make sure I get him. Because, again, I really think this could be the ace of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the thing that I love is, you mentioned, the 15 plus K per nine. His walks per nine were only 2.6. So even though, like I said, I think at times he's just jamming it in there, the stuff was so crisp, so clean, and it really explodes out of his hand too. He does a good job of hiding the ball. It creeps up on him. He can be dominant, and I think he's a guy that can be a 2-inning kind of reliever, the way you saw Miller or Chapman used during the playoffs. I think he's a guy that can consistently go to, get you anywhere from 3 to 4, 5, 6 outs.
Yeah, if you're a guy that's been blown away and intrigued and just waiting on a guy like Dellin Betances, this is the Betances you've been waiting for with Edwin Diaz. So I can't believe we're spending this much time already on closers, but that's how much I think we both love Edwin Diaz. Let's move on to a guy closer to our age. I actually think he's your exact age, still a little younger for me. I'm more of a Braves rotation kind of guy. They call him the final boss. He'll be 35 in July. I'm talking about Seung-hwan. I know I mispronounced that, but hey, whatever. If there was going to be an O that came over and dominated in the big leagues, I didn't think this would be him. I thought it would have been the home run king. I'm going to butcher his name too, Sadahara or whatever. But anyway, this guy basically unseated Trevor Rosenthal as the closer. I'm not sure, maybe Trevor Rosenthal unseated himself. Chicken and the egg kind of scenario. Yeah, but he was the answer and the solution that they needed for that problem. He had 14 holds, getting his feet wet as a first-year major league player. And then once he got into the closer role, he converted 19 to 23 opportunities. I mentioned only 5 relievers have an 18% or greater swinging strike rate. He was the 5th. So for everything we're saying about Edwin Diaz, he's right there. Please tell me a little bit more about Mr. O.
Yeah, well, I think, as exciting as Diaz is, where he has like the huge potential and upside, and, I hate to use this term with fantasy baseball guys, but sexiness, always a little bit more safe, where I think he's going to be secure in that role. You're not going to have to worry about him bouncing, here or there. I think he's the closer. I think he's going to be the closer for the next few years. And the stuff is great. He's another fastball slider guy, which is typically the norm when it comes to relief pitchers. Though I know a guy like Kimbrel maybe pitches in a curveball. You typically want that, nasty break and pitch that can sort of a wipeout slider, which is something he does have, but he has good control of it. The great fastball as well. Velocity's higher than I thought it was. He also mixes in a sinking fastball a little bit, and every so often will throw a curveball. So I like the overall package, the fact that he can mix it up a little bit. He knows how to pitch. Throws a lot of strikes, too. Another guy with a low walk per nine. I think it was maybe 2. I think it was actually 2 even. And he was still getting the case, 11.5. This isn't great, but pretty good for a reliever. And, he's in the Cardinals. They're going to be a solid team. He's going to get opportunities at the end of games. And I think he's very reliable. There's no sort of fluctuation. He knows how to pitch.
Okay. Yeah, St. Louis finished 23rd in the league last year with 55 save opportunities. The 3 years before that, had a little more consistency, finishing 1st, 11th, and 5th. So basically right around the top 10. If you put any bearing on that for your closers, there's some numbers for you there. I mentioned he's going to be 35. I personally don't worry too much about age, especially with closers. Him turning 35 in July really means little to me. But I will say he's going off the board as a 6th closer at pick 80, so right around the mid-6th round. Not to continue harping on Diaz, but if those are my two options in that same price range, I think I'd much rather go with the youth and the upside of the K's with Diaz. Not that hasn't been great, but if you look at and compare the two stat lines that we've seen, I don't know that anybody can maintain a 15 K per 9 ratio, but certainly I think it will exceed what O can put up. So that O is really, really, really good, and I like him a lot this year. But I'd reverse that order, and I'd consider him a great consolation prize if I miss out on Diaz.
I'm with you. 100% would take Diaz.
All right. Well, in this all closer episode, we have to go. We gave you 2 exciting guys to maybe consider. Now we got to go. I'm just going to say, do you like vanilla ice cream? Because to me, that's what Sam Dyson is. He's it's good. It's just not great. You need a little flair. There's nothing exciting about it. He had a career year last year, and I highly doubt it's going to be repeated. He finished 44th amongst relievers with a 1.0 WAR. However, he was 7th in saves. I forgot what the total number was now. You can help me with that. I mean, that just really doesn't translate that you're going to finish 7th in saves and then 44th most valuable as a reliever. It's kind of weird. There are better guys behind him, like Matt Bush, who I like, and Keone Keela, who I absolutely love and think is the eventual closer for the Rangers. So like I said, he really doesn't have any numbers that stand out except the saves total. And I don't know that he's long for the job. He's efficient. He was effective, but I don't know that he has a real stranglehold on the job. So as the 19th reliever off the board, he's kind of a dangerous pick to me because he's going ahead of guys like Betances, who we mentioned, Tony Watson, Hector Neris, even Jim Johnson, who I like this year. So I think it's kind of a wasted pick if Sam Dyson is a guy that you're looking at as, hey, maybe I can get out of him this year what I got out of him last year. I'm curious your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, he's not an overpowering pitcher. He's actually a ground ball guy that gets a lot of weak contact, kind of like a Brad Ziegler, but he doesn't have like the submarine delivery or anything like that. But he's somebody that relies on ground balls at a 65% ground ball rate, which is absolutely extreme. You want to look at swing and strike rate, bad walk per 9 and bad K per 9. He had, I think, a swing and strike rate in the 8s, which is terrible for a reliever. His K per 9 was about 7, which is just bad for a starter, let alone a reliever. And he walked a lot of batters. I think this guy isn't long for the job. I think he's susceptible to blow-ups. He's a pitch to contact pitcher, in a hitter's park in Arlington. And he's probably the worst guy in the bullpen. It's almost like he had a hot streak, got into the job, after Tolleson obviously just imploded early in the season. I unfortunately own Tolleson in a few leagues. But yeah, I think, Kela and Bush, even Dykeman, some of those guys are all better options. So I'd be shocked if, a month or 2 into the season, he's still closing. It would really shock me.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. I think he just kind of rode the wave. But some people are, maybe thinking they're going to catch lightning in a bottle. and this is going to happen again. Like I said, I would highly advise not making Sam Dyson part of your roster this season.
If he's got a job and it's late enough in the draft and you need a closer, go for it. But be ready to hop on the first one that comes available. And half of them are going to lose their jobs anyways. Closers we're talking about.
All right, so there you go. Good or bad, if you take Dyson, send your comments to Ralph because I'm having no part of this one. That's going to do it for some closers for you to consider in 2017 fantasy baseball. This has been the Baseball Show. This is Nickel Press TV. Hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully you liked what you saw. And again, we have the player library, so you can go there and just find isolated segment on the player of your choosing from any of the ones we've covered to this point. That'll do it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Make sure to subscribe.